APC is the only political party that has given us two illiterates as president.
A controversial political statement is making waves as Nigeria moves closer to the 2027 elections. According to a statement attributed to political activist Henry Shield, the All Progressives Congress, APC, is the only political party in Nigeria that has produced two illiterates as presidents. That is an extremely serious allegation. But what exactly did he mean? Who was he referring to? And is this really a debate about educational qualifications? Or is it another political attack ahead of the 2027 election? Let's break it down. The statement attributed to Henry Shield is blunt. He reportedly said, APC is the only political party in Nigeria that has produced two illiterates as presidents. He went even further by describing the two presidents as terrible characters. Those are strong political words. But before we accept or reject the statement, we need to separate political rhetoric from verifiable facts. Because calling a political leader an illiterate is not the same thing as establishing that the person has no formal education. It is often used politically to criticize someone's knowledge, competence, or understanding of an issue. So the first question is, who is Henry Shield referring to? The statement appears to be referring to two former Nigerian presidents who governed under the APC banner. The APC was formed in 2013 through the merger of several opposition parties. The party subsequently produced Muhammadu Buhari as president in 2015 and Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president in 2023. Therefore, when Shield says APC has produced two illiterates as presidents, the political reference is clearly directed at the two men who have served as presidents under the APC. But there's an important distinction. Both men have documented educational histories. So if the word illiterate is being interpreted literally, meaning someone unable to read or write, that is a claim requiring evidence. If it is being used as political rhetoric to describe their perceived competence, then we are dealing with an opinion rather than a measurable educational fact. That distinction matters. The statement needs to be understood in Nigeria's current political environment. The country is moving toward the 2027 elections. Political parties are preparing. Opposition groups are attacking the ruling party. The APC is defending the record of the Tinubu administration. And politicians and political commentators are increasingly making strong statements about the people who have governed Nigeria. So Shield's comment can be viewed within that larger political battle. The argument is not simply about education. It is about leadership performance. Here's where the discussion becomes more interesting. A person's academic qualifications don't automatically determine whether they will become a good president. A president can have multiple degrees and still make terrible decisions. Another leader can have fewer academic qualifications and still make effective decisions. Leadership involves many things: experience, judgment, economic understanding, decision-making, integrity, ability to build institutions, ability to manage people, and the ability to respond to national crises. So instead of asking only, what certificates does this politician have? Nigerians should also ask, what did this politician actually accomplish? Imagine you're evaluating a president. Would you judge that person by their university certificate alone? Probably not. You would ask, what happened to the economy? What happened to employment? What happened to security? What happened to infrastructure? What happened to healthcare? What happened to education? What happened to the value of the currency? What happened to the cost of living? And perhaps most importantly, did the government improve the lives of ordinary Nigerians? Those are much more useful questions. Muhammadu Buhari became president in 2015 after defeating the incumbent Goodluck Jonathan. His administration lasted 8 years, from 2015 to 2023. Supporters point to infrastructure projects, railway development, road construction, and other government programs. Critics, however, point to economic difficulties, insecurity, unemployment, and other problems that Nigerians experienced during his administration. That means Buhari's record remains politically contested. But describing him as an illiterate is a different matter. If the word is meant literally, it should be supported by evidence. If it is being used as an insult about his leadership, then it should be clearly identified as political commentary. Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president in May 2023. His administration introduced major economic reforms, most notably the removal of petrol subsidy and changes to the foreign exchange system. Supporters argue that these reforms were necessary to address long-standing economic problems. Critics argue that the reforms placed an enormous burden on ordinary Nigerians through higher prices and increased living costs. Again, Nigerians can disagree strongly about the results, but the disagreement should ideally focus on policies and outcomes rather than personal insults. The word itself is powerful. When a politician calls another politician an illiterate, the audience doesn't necessarily hear. This person cannot read or write. They may hear. This person doesn't understand what they are doing. That is why political language can become complicated. A statement may be technically framed as an insult, but actually be an argument about competence. And that appears to be the broader political meaning behind Shield's statement. He's attacking the competence and record of APC administrations. If the argument is about competence, then perhaps the stronger approach would be to provide evidence. Instead of saying, "These presidents are illiterates," the more useful argument would be, "Here are the policies they introduced. Here are the results. Here are the failures. Here is the evidence." That is how political criticism becomes powerful. Because anyone can insult a politician, but demonstrating that a government failed to achieve its objectives requires evidence. The ruling party should also be held to the same standard. If APC supporters say, "Look at what our government has achieved," then Nigerians should ask, how much did it cost? Was it completed? Is it working? Who benefited? What changed? And if opposition politicians say, "APC has failed," they should also provide evidence. Which policies failed? Why did they fail? What would you do differently? How much would your alternative cost? That is the political debate Nigerians need. As the 2027 election approaches, expect political language to become more aggressive. The ruling party will defend its record. Opposition parties will attack it. Former government officials will defend their achievements. Their opponents will question those achievements. And Nigerians will be presented with competing narratives. One side will say, "Look at what we have done." Another will say, "Look at what happened under your government." The responsibility ultimately falls on voters to examine both sides. The most important thing about this controversy may not actually be whether Henry Shield's description is fair. The bigger lesson is that Nigerians should move political discussions away from personal insults and toward measurable performance. Don't just ask whether a politician is educated. Ask whether the politician understands the problems facing the country. Don't just ask whether someone has experience. Ask what they achieved with that experience. Don't just listen to campaign promises. Ask how those promises will be funded. And don't simply believe criticism. Ask for evidence. So, the statement attributed to Henry Shield has certainly generated controversy. He accused the APC of producing two illiterates as presidents and described the two as terrible characters. But the important thing is to distinguish between a political insult and an established fact. The real debate should not simply be about who has the best educational background. It should be about leadership, competence, policies, and results. As Nigeria heads toward 2027, Nigerians will hear plenty of accusations from every political direction. The best response is not simply to cheer for your preferred politician. It is to ask questions. What did you achieve? What went wrong? What would you change? How much would your plan cost? And why should Nigerians trust you with power? Those are the questions that matter. So what do you think about Henry Shield's statement? Was he making a legitimate criticism of APC's leadership record? Or did he cross the line by using the word illiterate? Let us know your opinion in the comments. And for more Nigerian political news, current affairs, and detailed analysis, subscribe to the channel. The person behind this particular statement is political commentator and activist Henry Shield.
APC is the only political party that has given us two illiterates as president. Two terrible characters as president. Up to today, we can't find Buhari certificate. Up to today, we can't find Tinubu certificate. The two presidents that APC have given us have been horrid. You cannot go to the market today without security. Forget their campaign. All these their campaign that they're sharing money. They are carrying mobile policemen. They've not born anybody well. Sorry, let me speak pidgin.
Wow.
They've not born anybody well to go neighborhood today. Say you want to go campaign for Tinubu, you don't carry security. Then go flog you.